Share with us your specialty license plate that you've created.
That was an idea I came up with 2 years ago. I saw a plate from another state that benefited a children's charity, and I thought about what an easy way this was to raise money for research. And so I began the process. I lobbied. I found out just how slow state legislatures can be. But finally, the committee met. I presented my proposal, and they approved the idea. Of course, that doesn't mean that you have a plate automatically. What I then had to do was get 1,000 people to commit to purchase it. In order, in essence, basically, you had to pre-purchase this plate. So I had to get 1,000 people to do that. It really was a grassroots effort because it's very difficult to convince people to purchase something in advance. They're not going to get it right there. So we really had to work with parents across the state, really come together, get media, corporate partnerships, and that's something that I see myself being able to do, having that experience, being able to carry that over as Miss America.
Children who have cancer, pretty much, I would assume, have to be just born with it, whereas adults, have smoke or whatever that causes cancer. Mm-hmm. What special needs will you address as a pediatrician to the special needs of infants?
Well, the important thing is that children with cancer are treated at major treatment centers. And so I'm not sure there's something specifically as a pediatrician I would do other than make sure that I'm watching for those signs, because I have seen that. I know that a lot of times pediatricians don't catch those early warning signs of children who have cancer, fever, elevated heart rate, and those kind of things. They don't make the connection. What I see as important, though, as a community leader is really stressing to people the needs that families have when a child is diagnosed with cancer, because children have to be treated at major treatment centers. They can't, unlike adults, be treated at outpatient centers or at their local doctor. They have to relocate to major cities with children's hospitals and major universities. And so I would really promote the fact that these families need the support, the assistance, financial support, transportation, things like that. That's really crucial.
Anybody concerned with illness in this country has to be concerned with the healthcare system and the crisis in the area of health insurance. 45 million Americans have no health insurance at all. What are your thoughts on the way in which the system needs to be overhauled so some of these kids, when they contract this disease, will be sure that they have access to the kind of care they need?
Well, one of the great things that Congress has done recently in the past several years is the state children's health insurance programs that bring more children who maybe have too much money to qualify for Medicaid but not enough to purchase private insurance. They fall under this CHIP program, and so they are covered. But you're right, there are so many who still are not covered, children and adults. Personally, I believe that every person should have access to a basic level of health care services. And how we're going to do that, I'm not sure, because we really need to have some dialogue in this country about how we're going to finance it. People don't like to pay taxes, high taxes. That's what it's going to take to have maybe not a single payer health system, but something that really is comprehensive and covers all these people. And so we really need to either make it an employer mandate, maybe like the Clinton plan, although people were very hesitant about that. John Kerry now is coming out with a plan that would bring more people under Medicare that aren't maybe 65 years old yet, but they could buy into Medicare, bringing more people, giving tax credits, whatever it takes, making it affordable for people to purchase private health insurance and to be covered.
Along those same lines, you say your secret wish is to become the Surgeon General. So tell us why and what you would, hope might be accomplished by that.
Well, there are a lot of things that I'm interested in as far as public health goes. Prenatal care and early childhood development, I think, are so important. Kids get to, kindergarten, first grade, they're expected just to be able to pick up and learn to read. But if they haven't been stimulated, in an early learning program, Head Start or something like that, they're behind when they get there. And so, as Surgeon General or whatever, I would love to be able to implement those kind of programs and really to talk about things. Children's health care is so important. Obviously, I have a great love for children, and that's something that I would do. I love politics, though, and so Surgeon General or maybe running for Senate one day or something, I've always had an interest in that.
Do you think there's a possibility that if you become Miss America that could actually work as a hindrance to you becoming Surgeon General, in the sense that people who don't know that much about the pageant would be inclined to take you less seriously as a candidate for an office of that kind?
Well, if I were to become Miss America, that would be my goal, is to try to reverse that stereotype, because people don't understand. They don't understand what a great program this is. There are so many accomplished young women who compete, maybe who never even win state titles, but they they care about their education. They want to go to professional schools, graduate schools, or just get their college degree, and they're successful through this program, through community service and everything else. That's what I want to challenge people to understand. That's what I would do as Miss America, go around the country and promote that, because people don't understand. I think that's detrimental to the program now.
How do you feel about school vouchers?
Well, I really oppose school vouchers on the grounds that I think we need to strengthen existing schools. I really think that we need to put that federal money into improving schools. We have schools where kids have 30 people in a class, and you can't learn to read when there are 30 people and one teacher. You just can't do that. We've got to have smaller schools. We've got to improve the existing schools. Really, we need more money in teacher training and encouraging really bright, motivated people to go into teaching. There are wonderful teachers out there now, but I think a lot of people are discouraged from going into the profession because it's, the salaries are low. There's not a lot of prestige necessarily in it. And so I think we need to put more money into that rather than school vouchers.
Back to your platform a little bit. There are a lot of people in America and in the world, Christian Scientists, a lot of people who, when their children are sick, they believe in home remedies. They tried Laetrile. Do you have a position about that, wanting to be a physician, an obstetrician, a pediatrician?
Well, that case came up recently, I believe it was Utah or Colorado, where a child with cancer was actually removed from treatment by his parents because they believed that they shouldn't have this medical treatment. And that's fine if you believe that for yourself and you're an adult and you make that decision to not seek treatment or chemotherapy or whatever. But I don't think that you can make that decision for a child. I think that should be illegal. A child who numerous medical professionals say should be treated in a certain way with chemotherapy and radiation or whatever it may be, that child should be treated that way, and the parents should not be allowed to say, no, we're going to really just eschew all these medical opinions to do what we want to do. I think it's detrimental to the child.
Should the parent be held for a criminal act if they do that?
Possibly. I think so. Because how else would you enforce it? But children should be able to get proper health care, and again, the parents could make that decisions for themselves, but not for the child.
On a different line, I see that you're a volleyball player. I love volleyball, so I'm wondering what happened to your full scholarship to the University of Virginia, why you chose, or if you used part of it, or if you chose not to use it.
Well, I played for 1 year and actually stayed at the University of Virginia for 2 years. I was there until my junior year. But college sports is really a business. First of all, it's not really fun anymore. And of course, you're getting a scholarship to go to school, but you're much more athlete than you are student. And I knew I wanted to go to medical school, and there were other things I wanted to do in college, and that just wasn't congruent with that. So I made a really difficult decision to give that up. My parents thought I was crazy, but I just knew that was the right decision, and I never regretted it.
You applied to and were accepted at Dartmouth, Georgetown, and the University of Alabama Medical Schools, 3 totally different environments. What
Very
factors
different.
did you weigh in making the decision about where you were finally going to go?
Well, it's like you said, there were so many factors. I loved Dartmouth because it was small, and I actually ended up transferring from the University of Virginia to a small school, and I loved it. And so that's what really attracted me to Dartmouth. Georgetown, I loved the Washington, D.C. area. But the University of Alabama, UAB, is actually ranked higher than both of those schools in terms of medical school. It's top 25, in-state tuition, can't argue with that. It's just a fabulous place. Birmingham has become the center for biomedical research. It's really cutting edge in cardiovascular research, a lot of things. And so all of those decisions really swayed my interest in staying in Alabama and going to UAB.
When you played on a boys' baseball team as the only girl, did you have a distinct physical athletic trait that intimidated the other guys? And how did you handle that, if so?
Well, no, I was pretty skinny and lanky, and I was tall, so I was taller than most of the boys, but I was a pitcher, and so when I got up there on the mound, of course, the boys made fun of me. They called us sissies. I was the only girl in the league, and so everybody made fun of us. But I tell you, my crowning moment was when the boy that really made fun of me came up to bat, and I struck him out. He started crying, and I never had a problem after that. So,
What do you like to do for fun?
well, I love to try out new restaurants. I love to eat. I love to try out new restaurants, and I love the movies. Love to go to the movies, and really just hang out with friends, play sports, just do anything. Hanging out with people.
You think beach volleyball is a real sport that should be in the Olympics?
I really don't think it should be in the Olympics. I just don't see that as an Olympic sport. Indoor, of course, but, it's a great sport. when I think of the Olympics, I don't think of people playing beach volleyball. It's more recreational to me, but
I see you're the
that's just me.
you're the founding member of the College Democrats at Sanford. Was that successful, and is it still going?
Well, we actually joked that we could have held meetings in a phone booth. There were there were very few of us. It's a pretty conservative school, Southern Baptist school, and there weren't many of us, or at least many vocal members that wanted to get involved. But actually, yes, it is. It's still going strong and going stronger. So I was really proud to have done that. We all felt pretty good about ourselves to have established this. It's an old university. It's been around for a while, but never had a College Democrats chapter. So we were excited about starting that.
When did you first start to sing?
I'm sorry?
When did you first start to sing?
Oh, well, I actually sang my first solo in church when I was 2 years old. And it's been really a hobby for me. I've sung in choirs and started taking formal voice lessons when I was a senior in high school. So it's just fun. I really enjoy it.
I think,
We're all afraid to ask the next question because we see...
time's coming.
In one word, tell us your impression of the week so far. One word.
I'm sorry, my what?
One word, your impression of the week so far. One word.
Fabulous.
Fabulous.
Just so much fun.
Okay. We have time for 45 seconds of a closing statement from you.
Okay. The Miss America organization is the custodian of a grand American tradition. I would love to be Miss America 2005, using my skills to market this organization to potential corporate sponsors, to millions of Americans. I believe Miss America has to be someone who believes in this program, who's committed to promoting it, but she also has to be someone who has a heart. I think that's who I am, and I would love to be the person who leads this organization and markets it in the new millennium. I think that this is important, and I would love to be the person who does that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's nice to meet you. I'm Christina Ellington, Miss New York, and I just have to say it's truly an honor to be here. It's a little surreal for me because I remember back in 6th grade when I was standing at the bus stop waiting to get on the bus, and I always had a hard time. I was dealing with self-esteem issues a lot. My mother, who's an incredible woman, said to me, "You have a power and light inside of you, and I bet you down the line, I guarantee it, you will find that power," and I did. And I think that that's what the Miss America program is all about. It's about finding that power and that woman inside of you, and I'm so proud of the woman that I've become, and I'm so excited to be able to share that with you today. So I would love to open it up to you.
All right, I'm going to start. I see that you lived in 6 states,
Yes.
13 homes, 9 school systems. Me too. My dad was Navy. So why did you move so much, and how did that shape you?
Well, my father works for IBM. I don't know if some of you are familiar with the idea of I've been moved. And we constantly were moving around quite a bit. We were moving almost every 2 years. Many times we were moving in the middle of the school year. So that was the most difficult part of it, is that we were constantly moving to a different school system. And it was very difficult because it's very hard to develop friendships and relationships with other people when you're moving around a lot. But the great thing is that I was able to see the country. I was able to see different people, and here I am today, and so diverse and sort of working out of the box because I've had this opportunity to move around so much.
Your platform deals a lot with education.
Yes.
Just curious, today most high school athletes
Okay.
excel in basketball, i.e. LeBron James and several others. They skip college to go directly into professional
Yes.
athletics. Do you think they're losing out, or is it helpful to them? Or?
Well, I think it's really important to look at every individual completely differently. I've met many young people who kind of come up to me and say, "Christina, is it bad that I'm not going to college because I want to pursue a career in some other area?" But what I always tell students is that it is important to go to college, because college is not just about furthering your education academically, it's also about furthering your education as a person. It will help you grow. But at the same time, we need to allow people to get out there in the field sometimes and maybe say, hey, maybe down the line you want to go to college because you may get something out of that. Because I even know with my mother, she went directly into her career and then went back to college. So it works on a case-by-case basis, as long as they know that whatever career that they're going into is really going to benefit them down the road.
But is it going to benefit me if I'm making $500 million and I can't write $5 million on paper?
Well, that's a very good point. But then that's where I would go and speak to those particular people and say that maybe you should continue your education, because you never know that 10 years from now or 5 years from now you may not have that career, because our careers are constantly changing. As an actor, I even know that. I know that 2 years from now I may never have a career. So it's very important to go to college, because you never know down the line what things you may need to do.
What appeals to you about the show American Idol?
I think it's a lot of fun. I think it gives young people an opportunity to sort of express themselves, try something different. It is sort of a reality check for some people. I think that what we see on television as sort of the negative part of American Idol is for television. I think it does give a lot of people an opportunity, because I have a lot of friends who've actually auditioned for American Idol and found it a very helpful experience for them, because it's something they want to pursue. But as a performer, I enjoy watching all of them get up there and perform.
Do you think the voter participation to pick the ultimate winner is the key to that success, and could that same voting principle apply to Miss America and just drop the judges here and let America decide Miss America?
Well, I think, having America decide on a Miss America, I think, would be helpful. But I think it is important to have a judging panel, because I know that all of you have been briefed and all of you are familiar with the organization. Not all of the community of America is familiar with what Miss America actually does. So it's so important that we have a collective community of judges who understand what a Miss America will need to do in the future. So it's so important to have that panel. But I think down the road, I think it would be very interesting to have America participate.
The job of Miss America is a full-time job. I mean, you would
Yes.
travel 365 days of the year. It's very stressful mentally and physically. How have you prepared yourself for that?
Well, I think the wonderful thing about being Miss New York is it is also a full-time job. And when I became Miss New York, I had to give up my college education. I had to leave my job as well, because you're traveling every single day. I was up at 4 o'clock in the morning and sometimes getting home at 3 o'clock the next morning, because I was on the thruway all night long. So I'm fully prepared for this. I think my education and working hard in college and knowing that I had to stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning and do paperwork or whatever I had to do, I think that's fully prepared me. But I think the most important thing is that I'm very comfortable with the person that I am. So this is just something that would be another addition to my life that would be really wonderful, and I would take it a day at a time.
Are you prepared to deal with the media?
Oh, yes. As an actor, as I mentioned before, you're constantly in the public eye, and you're constantly criticized on a regular basis. So I've been able to generally handle any criticism that I've received.
Will you ever say no to the media?
Yes, there have been times when I have said no. If I feel that it's not going to benefit me or someone else, I will say no to the media.
Merit promotions and merit bonuses for teachers, supported by some, resisted by others. So what problems do you see with something that seems at first blush to be an obviously good idea?
Well, I think what happens is that when you're dealing with teachers who are already in the profession, who've been in it for a long time, it could kind of fall back on them. They may feel that they're not getting the pay that they should receive because someone may be doing a better job. Sometimes teachers may feel that they're not doing the job that they could be doing because another teacher with better academic standards or whatever it may be, receiving more money, is whatever that they're receiving. So I think it's so important that we also look at the teachers that are already in the classroom and look at the work that they're doing and make sure that we're enhancing what they're doing in the classroom as well.
On that same subject, does tenuring teachers, sometimes keep the bad teachers there? And is there something we can do to remedy that?
Yeah, well, I do disagree with tenure pay only because there are a lot of teachers that are already in the classroom who are not necessarily meeting up to the standards of teachers who are actually coming into the classroom. I think what's so important is that we're reaching out to those teachers, making sure that they're receiving an updated education every day, because our classrooms are always changing. Our students are in a different environment every day. So in order for them to be able to function in a new classroom, we have to make sure that we're updating the standards for them as well.
Do you see teachers' unions, the UFT in New York and the AFT nationally, as a help or hindrance in the idea of improving education in the elementary schools?
Oh, I definitely think it's definitely beneficial. I think it's so important that we have these unions because they're there to support our teachers. Many teachers do not feel supported by the community or the government. So it's so important that we have these unions so that they're voicing the opinions of a lot of our teachers, because unless you are a teacher, you really don't know what's exactly happening in those classrooms.
I've learned a lot today. It seems like every girl we've interviewed had some problems in their past: physical abuse, sexual abuse, tragic accident, eating disorder. Do you think they're running for Miss America to forget their past, or have you noticed that too? I mean, it's like every other girls?
Yeah, well, there's definitely, all of the young women here have diverse backgrounds, and I think that's what makes such an incredible group of girls here today and tomorrow, because they've all overcome adversity. I think what's so important in being a leader, and some of the leaders that I've seen that have been so incredible, is that they have overcome adversity. It's so important that you're able to share your lives with others. It's the things that I've been through and I've been able to come past that I'm able to share with people and have people be inspired by.
You have a Broadway intent to perform. What is happening with the good writing in America for plays, as well as musicals? Do we have it? Why are there so many revivals?
Well, I sort of started changing my idea of pursuing Broadway only because Broadway has become so commercialized. Broadway has become a place where we're starting to bring people outside of the actual industry, out of the entertainment industry, out there. And so what's happening is that we're not getting those great shows that we used to have decades ago. I would love down the road, if I continued with this path, that I would be able to bring in some better writing and some newer plays. But I think it's important to bring in new work that relates to our current situation today.
What about ticket prices? They're out the roof.
Oh, I would certainly agree. But I think that sometimes when we're bringing people from the outside entertainment industry, even though it may enhance ticket prices, there's many situations where it's not enhancing ticket prices. I think we need to look at our actors who are actually out there every day auditioning for shows and put them in the shows to keep enhancing them. But I think it's important to bring new work onto Broadway so that we can really get the market up there.
Christina, tell us a little bit about your family and what you like to do for fun.
Well, my family, I have 3 brothers. I have 2 older brothers and 1 younger brother. I also have a guinea pig, and he's my little guide buddy. They're a wonderful family. We've been through a lot, but we've always stayed together. My mom always believes in a close family and working together. And the one thing we love doing is going to the movie theater. I love seeing movies. We'll sometimes see 3 movies a day. So they're a wonderful, supportive family.
What's been the greatest obstacle you've had to overcome?
Dealing with moving around. And when I was at different schools, the thing was that I was in different types of schools. I was in inner city schools, sometimes I'd be in a suburban school. And so I sometimes felt like I couldn't figure out what my place was. Who was I? Where do I fit in? And everybody else was trying to figure me out as well. So it was so hard trying to figure out who I was. But again, my mother constantly told me, Christina, you have to find yourself. You can't compare yourself to other people or let other people define you. And it was later on when I finally realized that.
You just mentioned movies, and on your information you said you liked horror movies.
Yes.
So, well, we got to know what your favorite one is, I
Oh,
suppose.
gosh. George
And
C.
why?
Romero. George C. Romero, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He does some great horror movies, and he did Night of the Living Dead. I started watching the movie when I was 4 years old. I don't know why.
Have you heard
but-
of Wes Craven?
Yes, I've heard of Wes Craven.
Nightmare on Elm Street. Did you like
I've seen
that?
all of Nightmare on Elm
Yeah.
Street. I don't know why I have a crazy fixation on them. They never created any nightmares or anything like that, so I continued with them. I just enjoy the artistic element of them.
And real quickly, if you win Miss America, will you take a position on No Child Left Behind as it relates to our candidates?
Yeah, I think it's so important to address the No Child Left Behind issue because I think that it's important that we look at reform for No Child Left Behind. I think it was a great initiative that we took on.
We have to stop right now.
Okay, sure.
The law says so. But we
okay.
do have 45 seconds to take us anywhere you'd like.
Okay. Well, just to finish up with your question, I would definitely take an initiative to say that, hey, we need to support No Child Left Behind, but we need to not support testing standards. We need to look at other ways to hold schools accountable. But what I would like to say to all of you is that I believe in this organization. I think it's a wonderful organization. I had an appearance in the Bronx probably a couple months ago, and I spoke with some parents, and they said, we can't believe that there's a Miss America program out there. We have kids in this community that would love to be in the Miss America program. Why aren't our girls exposed to this? And I think that it's so important that we start reaching out to our smaller communities for them.
We're out of time.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It was nice to meet you.
Hey.
Well, I'm Miss Arkansas, Lacey Fleming, and I'm going to begin today by presenting you with a challenge. Because I'm the type of person that responds well to challenges, it motivates me, so hopefully it'll do the same for you. You have the opportunity to be one person in the world, or you can be the world to one person. Now, what I've chosen to do is to be the world to at least one person through all aspects of my life, but primarily through my platform. And I've done that by implementing my program statewide and now hopefully nationally, by partnering together with corporations such as Walmart and with my state representatives in Washington and the Director, Secretary of Education, Rod Page, to get this to be something that is national in every classroom across our nation. So hopefully with that said, I've motivated you, share a little bit about what's motivating me, so now I'm ready for your questions.
You've, Lacey, in your resume, it says you wrote that as an advocate of child abuse awareness for the past 7 years, I have seen vast improvements made in our society. What are those vast improvements?
The number one improvement that I think I've seen is that the lines of communication in the classroom have been open more. As a teacher, I can tell you that the teacher has probably the biggest connection with the student than even the parent many times, and especially in an abuse situation where they lack that trust issue between a parent and a child, or even between an adult and a child, a teacher can regain that through communication. So the biggest, I guess, improvement that I've seen is the communication that develops between a teacher and a student, strictly because of the curriculum it's placed within the classroom.
But the statistics you quote on the next page, according to the latest statistics, 1 out of every 3 girls and 1 out of every 6 boys will be sexually abused at least once before the age of 18. Certainly make it sound as though things are getting worse, not better.
Well, however, I mean, we can always focus on the negative, but I think it's the most important thing is to focus on the positive. Yes, I can tell you that 3 million children are suffering from abuse each and every year. However, I can also share with you a case of a child who's come out of abuse. So I think it's the things that we tend to focus on. Let's not focus on the 3 million, let's focus on the 1. Because there's also a part that I include in the very end that says, I'm only 1, but still I am 1. We can't forget the power of 1.
What do you think Secretary Page's job performance overall?
I think he's done a very good job. Nationally, I think we're doing a lot with education. With the No Child Left Behind Act that's in place right now, I see it going strides and then I see it coming back. There's several things that I agree with and several things that I don't agree with.
What don't you agree with?
One of the things I do not agree with is that I don't think we are adequately funding this, because I don't think it's being adequately funded. I don't think it's being able to be placed in all classrooms. Another thing that I do not agree with, and is specifically as a teacher, is the teacher accountability that it places on us. Because I think it takes away, a teacher is now teaching to the test, meaning they're teaching to the standardized test scores that they're having to receive in the classroom. And I think when you do that, you really limit the amount of creativity that a teacher has, and when you tell a teacher that she has to teach something, she's pulled away. So if you give her the freeness and the willing to go in and teach whatever she wants, the ways that she wants, because in my opinion, education is very individualistic, and we have to teach it to every child. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine. How do you implement your child abuse awareness program in K through 3?
Right.
I have small children, without putting ideas in their head. I have imaginative childldren, too.
Right. There's different ways you do this, and it's included all in the curriculum packet that we give to each and every school. And there's different ways that you introduce each issue. For example, one of the hardest to introduce is sexual abuse. So the way we introduce it is on a very casual level by approaching it from an opposite aspect. And if you go into it teaching all the different things about opposites, what is, the difference between big and small. On the young age level, you're also incorporating several other curriculum aspects like opposites. So if you go into it on that level, and then you bring in your last opposite that you touch on is good and bad, and that leads you into the good and bad aspect of touching. And then that focuses you right on into dealing with different types of abuse. So there's different ways that you do it, but you put it on a child's level and put it in the perspective that they can understand.
Being a dance instructor at Vouchers University, and I did know how to pronounce it right.
Right, good job.
How do you respond to people who say those that can do, but those that can't teach?
As a dance instructor?
Yes.
Well, I wasn't exactly a dance instructor at Ouachita. I did teach dance at school at Ouachita. Those who can't, repeat the question again, I'm sorry.
Well, they're all cliche. If you can do it, you'll just go do it for real. But if you can't, you'll just go teach somewhere how to do it.
Like an acting coach, they couldn't get an acting job, so they have to coach.
Well, I've heard that used a lot of times with teachers, and I hope that's not the case. I think the people that can are the people that are doing, hopefully. Does that make sense? Is that answering your question?
You're public relations intern for Governor Mike Huckabee
Right.
of Tennessee. I feel like he became governor under unusual circumstances involving Jim Guy Tucker, is that correct?
Right.
Were you coming in about that same time, and if so, how did that affect you?
Actually, no, this was only
Okay.
the past year, and I have a really wonderful relationship with the Huckabees because I go to school with their daughter.
Oh, really?
And she lived right next door to me in the hall. So I have kind of a different relationship with the family than a normal Arkansan would have. But yes, I had the opportunity to go up and spend several days with him, just seeing the public side of what the governor does. Not so much the nitty-gritty work part, but to see the public side, and it was really informative and a lot of fun also, though.
Lacey, what makes you angry?
A lot of things make me angry occasionally, but one thing that I cannot seem to, I guess, get a grip on my anger with is road rage. I somewhat have a problem with driving, and right now as Miss Arkansas, they've given me a car for the entire year. And so on the side of my car, I have a great big seal that says Miss Arkansas, product of the Miss America organization. So that kind of comes in handy occasionally if I'm going through the drive-thru. I've been given free drinks at Sonic before, but occasionally on the interstate when I'm in a huge hurry and when I'm going this much over the speed limit, it seemed maybe as somewhat of a negative. So the thing that makes me the angriest probably is issues I have with driving.
What do you like to do for fun?
Oh, wow. For fun right now, as I'm kind of making, I guess, the transition, I think, between kid and adult, which I still consider myself a kid. I think I always consider myself a kid. I'm enjoying cooking. Because growing up in a household with a mother who is a home economics teacher, we were constantly in the kitchen making stuff, and my father, being a Baptist preacher, is very family-oriented. So getting us all together to have something to do is something both of them like a lot. And so I'm experimenting right now with cooking, and that's one of the things that I get as good luck presents in pageants now is cookbooks. And so I'm not sure if my mother's trying to help me out or if she's trying to coach me along to maybe better things that I'm not doing so good in the kitchen.
In the last 25 years, what would you say has been the greatest stride for women of this country?
I think for women, it's our right to vote. I think we're making strides constantly, as the years progress. And I think another stride that we've made that's even more probably recognizable is the things that we've done as far as in the business world. Look at right now, the major show that's hot right now is The Apprentice. Okay, well, look at some of your leading people that were on this last episode of The Apprentice. They were women. And so I think we're making great strides in the business world, and I think we're seeing women in a completely different light as people that are capable of achieving things in the future
They're
also.
so hard-edged, though. They almost seem manipulative. Is that a flattering thing?
I don't necessarily know that it's not a flattering thing. I think a woman is a very dominant, powerful figure, and I think she should be recognized as one.
Well, speaking of those kind of women, you said you'd like to interview Oprah Winfrey.
Yes.
Several contestants either mentioned her as
Right.
the TV show interview most admired. What is it about Oprah Winfrey that makes her so exciting to the
Right.
women of your age?
Well, the first thing that drew me to her is, of course, our history and her background with child abuse. She did come from a very abusive home. But I think the thing that makes me drawn to Oprah so much is her willingness and her givingness that she has for just general humans. I think one of the things that I strive to be constantly and daily is to be as gracious as I possibly can. As far as that's walking over here from the convention center this morning, stressed, nervous, a million thoughts going through your mind, not forgetting to look at the man that opens the door and say thank you, or a simple smile. I think it's been something that my father has instilled in me my entire life is you never underestimate the power of a smile or the simple words of thank you. And so I think that's something that Oprah does is she's probably one of the most gracious people I can possibly imagine. And I think we can all attest to that for the fact that a couple of days ago she gave her entire audience cars. That's one audience that you really wish you'd gotten a ticket to sit in. But, researching all the way back to that, they said she went back and it's, looked at all the people that applied for tickets for the show and made sure that the people that were in the audience that day were the people that needed cars. So she wasn't just giving to be giving, she was giving for a very specific purpose. And I think those are the kind of things that hopefully I relate to her and can embody the same things.
As a daughter of a Baptist minister, have you ever felt the need to rebel?
Occasionally, I guess there's a need to rebel. Honestly, growing up, I was just a really good kid. I really didn't do anything that was that bad. I can remember one time when I was growing up when I cut the screen on my brother's bedroom window because they were redoing our house and I wanted to get something from the kitchen, and en route to the kitchen was the floor that needed fixing. That was really the only thing I can remember doing. But as a preacher's kid, no, I've never had the opportunity or really ever willingness to rebel, but drawn more, I guess, to my family than I ever could ever imagine with church. It's something I say, it's very different. When you go to church and you listen to your preacher and you learn a lot about God, but you're taught your whole life, when your daddy speaks, you listen. Right. And so there's an occasion when I'm sitting in church and when I've been up really late on Saturday night and it's easy to fall asleep, it's easy to open your head right back up and remember that it's your daddy standing in front of the church. And so it's been more of a growing experience than really a need or a want to rebel.
If you're in Miss America, you might get the opportunity to rebel. You'll be out with your traveling companion. Is there an area that you might like to explore as Miss America that you haven't explored before?
Well, right now on the state level, my traveling companion is 65 years old. So our desire to rebel right now isn't exactly overwhelming us at this moment. Our idea of rebelling right now would be going downstairs to the hotel for a good meal. But one thing that I've always wanted to do since I was a little girl, and having the title of Miss America would allow me to do this, I've always wanted to live in New York City. Always. As you said, growing up as a dancer for 16 years, this is something that I've always wanted to do. And of course, I know that if I went on Saturday night, where am I going Sunday morning but to New York City? And so that would be a wonderful opportunity for me, I guess, to rebel in that way.
Pick one for the rest of your life. Richard? Smarter, more popular.
Smarter. I think if I'm smarter, I'm going to have the sense to make myself rich. And if I'm smarter, I'm going to have the sense to make myself more popular and how to achieve popularity. But I think smarts and integrity and the intelligence that I could have as a growing woman will be things that are going to help me a lot more in the future. But with that, hopefully I can achieve those other two also.
What's your favorite song?
Right now, Last Dance. And hopefully it's your favorite song as well. I love all kinds of music, but probably my number one favorite music is the old Heavenly Highways hymnal from the old Southern Baptist Church. And it's hard for me because
Lacey, we're out of time. I'm so sorry to interrupt. I'm
That's
the bad guy.
fine. That's
But
fine.
you do have 45 seconds to just take us anywhere you'd like.
Well, I think we've covered a span of things in this interview. I've really enjoyed it, and I hope you have too. I had a closing prepared, but I feel led in a different way. You know, I think God puts us in different places for very different reasons. And I can honestly stand here right now and tell you that I think He has put me in this place as Miss Arkansas, but as a contestant for Miss America for a very specific purpose. And I don't know what that purpose is. I don't know if that purpose is to reach someone in the audience, to touch a child who may watch the pageant, or if it's to show you the purpose of why I should become Miss America. But hopefully, without a doubt, I've shown you that today, that I'm capable and I'm willing and I'm ready to become Miss America.
With our time. I'm
All right.
sorry.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Lacey.
I'm Jenna Edwards, Miss Florida. I once knew a girl whose goal in life was to make the world a better place. So in 5th grade, she started an environmental club, and she invited all of her friends to come be a part of it. But no one ever showed up. And while it hurt her feelings, she didn't let that stop her from continuing to make the world a better place. Now, years later, this young woman is now leading an international organization called Queen for a Day. This is my story. I'm here because I'm still continuing to make the world a better place through Queen for a Day, and I want to, especially as Miss America. And with that, I'm ready for your questions.
Good morning, Jenna.
Good morning.
I'd just like to know the one moment or the one young lady that has inspired you the most with your organization, Queen for a Day.
I will always remember Jaleesa, and she was one of the very first girls that I ever met. She came into the room riding her IV pole, wearing her pajamas, and she had this bald brown head, but she was so in her element that day. She chose this bright cherry red lipstick, and she ran around kissing everyone on the cheek, leaving little lip marks on our cheeks. About 9 months later, when she died, the hospital staff told me that she was very particular about things that she hung on her wall, but she still had a picture I had given her of her Queen for a Day experience. This is one of my very first experiences with one of my kids dying, and I had no idea what I was doing for them, and I was questioning, am I really helping them? Am I affecting them in any way? But when they told me about that picture, I thought, what if that was the last thing she saw before she closed her eyes? And that's when I realized that I can't extend the lives of these patients, but I am improving the quality of their life, no matter how long or short it is. And I will always carry that story with me.
Do you follow up with them? These kids are at such risk. Do you go back to the hospital? Do you stay involved with their stories?
We try to, and it depends on the local chapters as to how often they go back to the hospitals. Most of the time, I can't ask for personal information as to how long they're going to be in the hospital or for last names, so it is difficult for us to remain in touch with them.
What is Queen for a Day? I mean, how long has it been in existence? Can you give me a little background?
Sure. I started in June of 2000, and we started out as, I pretty much thought it was going to be a one-time thing. I went to the hospital and we did the girls' makeup, I painted their nails, and...
Well, I'm sorry, what is it, though, exactly? How much money did they raise? When did it become in existence?
In June of 2000, we incorporated.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
yes. And we, to be honest, we don't have that much money because I've been in college until December, and that's one thing that I want to do in the near future is raise more money.
Is it nationwide?
Yes, we're actually international. We have over 30 chapters in the U.S. and 8 in South Africa.
Okay, thank you.
Should you win Miss America, no doubt she'll be asked, and even though this seems like a natural thing to come out of Miss America with the crown and all, is this a big enough issue to tackle when you have, so many opportunities as Miss America to raise money for this, that, and the other thing and bring awareness? And how would you answer that? Because no doubt that would come up.
It's a huge issue for me, and it's one thing that I definitely want to do. But the thing about Queen for a Day is, even though we're so specific to cancer patients, I'm realizing that we're affecting everybody, even if you're not a child with cancer, because it's such a motivating story. It's showing people that you can take something so little that you're good at. I'm just putting on makeup and painting nails. That's all we're really doing. But because we're giving positive attention to someone else, it's making a huge difference in their lives. And that's a message that I can use to anybody and everybody.
What about the guys? Why not King for a Day as an adjunct?
Well, I've found that guys aren't quite as excited about royalty as women are, so... Right. So we have a Heroes program based on firefighters and police officers. We're trying to build off the whole bravery and courage aspects of the public officers and instill that in the boys.
It must be hard, and I don't know if you get into this aspect. I know the kids probably know they have cancer, but how would you explain to them what cancer is and why their situation is what it is?
I am not there to do that. We are there to distract them from that. I leave that up to the nurses and the child life coordinators. But if a child did ask me about that, it was just, I wouldn't know what to tell them because I try not to think about that at all when we are there.
Yeah. Anybody concerned with illness in this country has to be concerned with the healthcare system, the way in which it's collapsing. 45 million people have no health insurance at all. What are your thoughts about what needs to be done to fix it in order to protect kids like these kids that you're dealing with?
I recently heard about a child in Texas whose father just lost his job, so he lost the insurance. The mother had to stay home with their daughter because she was diagnosed as terminal, and they had no health care to pay for this child's medical bills. The grandmother went off her diabetes medication to help pay for the child's bills, and that was what really hit home with me, that something has got to be done. I have no idea how to fix the system, to be quite honest with you. I do know that something needs to be done, some sort of reform. I spent 3 months in London, and it's somewhat of a universal healthcare system. Everyone gets the same care. And just on an immediate thought, that seems to be...
Do you feel that our government possibly has misguided priorities because they're giving so much money to third world countries when we deal with such a problem with taking care of our own?
Yes, I think it's very easy to look at another country and to want to give. I mean, we all want to give and help other people, and we can think that that might be the best thing to do so we look like a great country. But I think every once in a while we need to come back and reprioritize and look at ourselves and decide that we do need to take care of ourselves before we take care of other people.
Jenna, how long have you been involved in the Miss America program, and what have you learned the most about yourself?
Well, I've been watching Miss America since I was 7 years old, so technically I've been involved for over 16 years, but competing just about 3 years. And I have learned that you really need to know yourself when you get into the system. And at the same time, the system helps to get to know yourself even more.
One thing that I learned about you is that one of your favorite things to do is to shop on eBay.
Yes.
I'll admit I've never done that.
Really?
But if you shopped on eBay, that means you spent some time on the computer. Did you by any chance, I'm stealing your question, look us up at our websites? And if so, did you learn anything about us?
No, I like elements of surprise,
Okay.
so I didn't want to psych myself out too much.
You're a volunteer with Disabled Americans.
Yes.
It seems to me in my life that some of my disabled friends are the most delightful people in my life
Absolutely.
and so much. Why is that quality, for the most part, so evident in a disabled person?
I think because they see life so much on a broader scope than we do. And I don't know why they have such a better outlook on life. And I guess because they've somewhat hit the bottom at some point, but they've bounced back. And they realize that, I guess, being physically a whole person doesn't make you any less of a person.
Florida, unfortunately, has just recently been bombarded with hurricanes. There's another tropical storm, and they're now... developers continue to build right on the ocean, which costs taxpayers a lot of money. Do you think that they should be made to pay, allowed to keep building right on the ocean?
Allowed to, yes. I mean, that's their prerogative. I mean, you obviously pay the price when you build on a coastline because you have to deal with Mother Nature. I don't think there's anything we can do to stop that because corporations are so large and influential nowadays. They can pretty much do whatever they want.
What do you do for fun?
What do I do for fun? I don't know. When do I have time to have fun? Well, I shop on eBay. A lot of times I bake cookies. Like baking is for some reason therapeutic to me because it's like mindless activity. I can let my mind go wild and not have to pay attention to what I'm doing. And I talk to friends on the internet. I like to travel with friends. I shop on South Beach every once in a while. There's a road called Lincoln Road. It's an outdoor mall, and it's very relaxing. Just a lot of outdoor cafes, and I'll stop and have a bowl of ice cream.
Was the voting situation in Florida at the last presidential election merited because of all the disfavor that Governor Bush fell into because of that debacle?
Was it
merited? I mean, really, could you back it up to his responsibility?
I wouldn't put the responsibility on the governor. I don't know how much exactly control he has on the Election Commission, but I would put the responsibility on the Election Commission itself as to not paying enough attention to what's going on.
I'm sorry, go ahead. How did you feel just as a Floridian living here during all this?
It was very hard because I had friends and family all over the country who were picking on me, and I'm like, what am I going to do about it? So, we still get picked on it all the time, and I would just like to note, I'm sure we are not the only state that has had this issue, but we were the ones that got picked on.
Well, you remain one of the crucial swing states in this election. What do you think the determining issues are going to be that will decide how Florida goes in this presidential election?
I think because of our senior population, health care is going to be a huge issue, and with the recent hurricane disasters in the state, the economy and jobs are going to be a huge issue because people need the money to get back on their feet.
The job of Miss America is a full-time job. You will travel every day should you be selected. It's very mentally and physically stressful. How have you prepared yourself for that should you become Miss America?
I kind of feel like all my life I've been kind of primed for this type of job. I'm always on the move. Even in school, I was constantly doing things. Doing Queen for Day in school, I didn't like to sit at home every weekend like a regular college student. I was out traveling and for either a pageant or for Queen for Day or just visiting friends. So, I have no problem with traveling and moving every day. As long as I keep myself busy and I'm always doing something, then I'm going to be happy.
And if you're chosen Miss America along those same lines, no doubt you'll be asked your opinion on the election, the war, and everything going on. What do you think about the position of Miss America? Should she take a position on the election and all the other issues? And would you, as Miss America?
I don't know that Miss America should really turn herself into a political figure. Of course, if people are going to ask, you should definitely be prepared for that. I myself, I'm ready for the election to be over simply because I feel like the candidates are dodging the real issues by kind of teasing each other and playing around with each other.
Gina, we've reached the end of this portion. Please close in
Sure.
this 45 seconds.
Sure. Well, I don't want to leave this room without letting you know why I want to be Miss America. My parents raised me to be a very giving person, and after all that Miss America has given me through scholarships and through personal development, I so badly want to give back to it. I also think a partnership between Queen for Day and Miss America would be extremely beneficial to both organizations. But all business aside, I've been watching Miss America since I was 7 years old, and this would be an absolute dream come true for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Elizabeth Barkus, Miss Idaho. I'm ready to be Miss America. I think I can market this organization, and I think it can market me. I've been told I look good on paper because of things like Harvard Law School, Fulbright Scholar, fluent in Russian, But my hope is that I work even better in person because I truly try to connect with others and find common ground wherever I go. I'm comfortable in boardrooms and ballrooms and classrooms and committee rooms, and especially in this room, here in front of you, judging me because I know who I am, and I'm confident in who I am, and I'm ready to work my heart out for this organization. I have many plans about how to market the Miss America program, including using this children's book that I've written and illustrated on my platform. So I'd love to discuss that with you further or answer any other questions you may have.
Good morning. I believe I have the first question. Tell us about your platform.
My platform is promoting understanding of individuals with disabilities, and it's based on my experiences growing up with my father, who was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease when I was 2 years old. So in many respects, it's been a lifelong platform. I've always tried to encourage this understanding, and now I see a chance to do so at the national level. And there are two main avenues through which I'd like to do this, and one is this children's book. I like it because it's a tangible product. You can pick it up, read it to kids. I think it raises questions and initiates a dialogue that hopefully will encourage them to look within themselves and encourage that sensitivity. And then I'd also like to advocate for legislative change to protect the parental rights of parents with disabilities.
We all know that disabilities are not always physical disabilities. How would you explain something like Tourette's syndrome to a child, and how would you advocate for it?
I think what physical and emotional and mental disabilities all have in common is that in others they often inspire discomfort because people don't know how to react. They're maybe not used to seeing somebody speak or move or talk in a way that's foreign to them. And so with children, I think, in trying to explain any kind of disability, I'd focus on the fact that it's okay to celebrate difference, to appreciate it, that really when we react by laughing or pointing or staring, it just reflects our own discomfort and fear with not understanding what's going on.
Having illustrated children's book in my career at times, I'm always interested to hear what a writer looks for in an illustrator, what qualities in art for a book.
Well, for me, with this children's book, as I was writing the story, I was constantly imagining the pictures because children really react to visual elements, and for those who can't read themselves, I think that pictures like this one right here, where a mean pack of hyenas are laughing at the main character's father, really reach children, and they can respond to that. And in fact, I've read this book to so many kids now, and they routinely, when I ask them after the story, what was their favorite part, what was their least favorite part, they pick this page as the one they hate, which just, I think, illustrates to me kind of the intrinsic sensitivity kids have. They don't like people being mean, and when they themselves act in that way, it's just their own discomfort.
My oldest child is disabled. He's severely hearing impaired. Is he covered under the Americans with Disabilities Act? And what are his rights if he is covered?
Yes, he is covered under that act, and I think that the ADA has helped make tremendous legal gains for people with disabilities. In terms of education, he is fully entitled to have access to all programs that other students have, to have a translator if need be, and certainly in terms of access to public places, he has those rights as well.
You were a contestant on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. How far did you get, and what was the question that stopped you?
I sadly didn't even make it into the hot seat. You know how they have that fastest fingers game, but I am convinced that I was the fastest person to put all the answers in the wrong order. That's my claim to fame.
Something.
No money, sadly.
How long have you been involved in the Miss America program? How have you competed? Several years? Did it take you a while to get to this point, or?
No, actually, this is the first year that I've competed. I'm 24, so this is actually my last year of eligibility. And I wanted to wait until this point in my life because I think that right now I have the emotional maturity and confidence to handle the pressures of the job. I think I can be at my best self at this point in my life.
You spent some time in Russia. Did you learn anything about Rachmaninoff that inspired you to play the piece that you played for talent?
Absolutely. I learned that the Russian people adore Rachmaninoff. They're so proud of him. They really feel his music. And in many senses, for me, I think that there's a real combination there between the Russian psyche and Rachmaninoff's music. It's very powerful, very intense, and from what I learned of the Russian people, they themselves have this kind of depth that I think is reflective in his music.
Did you meet anyone that had actually seen him play?
Unfortunately, no. I would have loved to do that.
Let's stay with Russia for a minute. Following the terrorist attacks in Beslan, President Putin announced, among other things, that he felt one of the reasons that it occurred was that Russia had been weak. Given the history of Russia in the 20th century, what does that say to you about where he may be taking the Russian government in the future?
I I'm particularly worried about the new direction he seems to be heading, particularly since his announcement yesterday where he said he wanted to remove elections for the 89 governors in the region and instead appoint them himself to consolidate power. And Putin is very popular in Russia. It's amazing how people just adore him. And I think that in part it's that cult of personality that he's developed, but it makes me worry about freedom and democracy in that country, particularly in elections and also with freedom of the press, which was the project I studied on the Fulbright.
Coming from Idaho and the slower pace of life, perhaps, how do you wrap your mind around Harvard?
It's exciting to imagine it, and I've actually had really amazing opportunities to travel and to be in big cities. So while my home and my heart is in Idaho, I think that in terms of imagining what it will be like to be at that institution, I'll be comfortable there. I'll be ready for Harvard.
Did you see the movie The Paper Chase?
I never have. I've heard it's wonderful, but not very reflective of what it's like there now, hopefully.
Elizabeth, what motivates you to achieve? You've got almost every award here that can be given. What motivates you?
I guess I'm driven mostly by this firm belief that I really can affect change and affect difference, and in part that was influenced by my parents, who have been incredible role models for me and who have really encouraged all of my interests and talents. When I was little, they gave me lessons in everything from baton twirling to ice skating to help me suss out what I was good at and what my passions were. And I think that because I was in that culture where everything was encouraged and it was emphasized that I could be anything I wanted to be, it's made me reach out and try and sample everything.
Part of that reaching out might come into play should you win Miss America, and you said you wanted to show the relevance of the pageant. So, should you win Miss America, how will you show the relevance specifically?
This program, I think, has a lot of respect already. And in fact, that was confirmed for me when I called Harvard Law to ask for my deferral. I was a little nervous because I had deferred twice, first to get my master's degree and then to pursue the Fulbright. But when I called and explained that I had won Miss Idaho and I'd be competing at Miss America and representing my state throughout the year, they immediately granted the deferral. They wished me luck at the pageant, sent me a letter of congratulations, and it emphasized to me that this program does have respect among institutions of higher education, probably because of the amazing scholarship opportunities it offers young women. So I think in following up on that and continuing to promote its relevance, I would really emphasize those scholarship opportunities and also focus on the type of women who are drawn to this program. And by now you've interviewed most of the contestants, and I'm sure you're well aware that they are amazing in so many respects.
As Miss America, how will you handle the press? I mean, specifically like the negative press, and also how have you prepared your family and friends?
In terms of handling the press, I really believe in this program, and so I think that I would draw on that belief over and over again. I believe in this product, so I think I can sell it. And I'm actually kind of experienced in dealing with press. I was a member of the press as an intern for several years at various newspapers, and so I know that often what makes a good story is the drama and the negative aspects, and that's what they might be looking for. But I'm prepared to just, once again, focus on the positive with this program because I believe in it. My friends and family are really excited about my involvement in this program. They, I think, see me exercising a different side of my personality because I have often looked to academic achievement as a source of excitement in my life. But I think that they would be prepared to support me in my travels and in my mission on this platform.
How does a law degree prepare you for your career ambition of joining the Foreign Service?
Well, I'm particularly interested in working in countries in transition, and particularly in the region of the former Soviet Union. And so in that area, there's still a lot of legal wrangling as they're working on constitutional law and figuring out freedom of the press and that kind of thing. So I think it would prepare me well. But also, as you probably well know, you have your law degree from Yale. Is that correct?
I do.
So you don't necessarily need to practice law for that to come in handy and to enrich your life. They waitlisted me, sadly.
Excuse me. I'm interested in how you say you want to sell the Miss America program as a story. Number one, how does it coordinate with your story that you write? And what visuals, again, would accompany the Miss America selling?
Well, I think that one thing that's great about this book is it's a tangible product. So it's evidence of the kind of change Miss America can bring about in society, and hopefully that would help sell the story as people leap on that, people who are interested in reading and literacy, maybe Oprah or Laura Bush, and that could gain some national attention for this product. And so I think that would be one visual, but I always think that in trying to sell any story, it's important to focus on the personal aspects. And because my platform is so personal for me, and I have a lifetime of experience dealing with the challenges my dad and our family has faced, I think I can effectively communicate that message.
Tell us about those challenges. How was that, growing up with a father who had Parkinson's?
He was diagnosed when I was 2, and so he was already fairly disabled by the time I was old enough to notice people staring at him, laughing, pointing. And certainly as a kid, I was hurt by this. I didn't understand why people were motivated to be so cruel, why they would hurt him, and it also angered me when they made fun of him. But now as an adult, as I can look inside myself and at others and try and understand why they acted in those ways, I mostly just want to reach out with this message of compassion and kindness to others.
Should you win, would you feel comfortable giving a position on the political situation in the country, the election, the war?
Well, in my capacity as Miss America, I don't think it would be appropriate to advocate for a particular political party, but I would feel very comfortable encouraging others, particularly in this election year, to vote and to exercise their civic duty in that respect, because I think that that's an important part of being an American.
Elizabeth, we've reached a point that we have 45 seconds for you to tell us anything you wish.
3 years ago, I stood before a panel fairly similar to this, interviewing for a Rhodes Scholarship. I had reached the final level, and as they grilled me on Russian politics and history in the Russian language, I realized I wasn't ready. It took living in Russia on the Fulbright grant to become fluent in that language. But just as I knew then that I wasn't ready, I know now standing before you that I am ready to be Miss America. I want the job, and I can do the job, because I would be a tireless advocate both for my platform, which is personal to me, and for this organization. I believe in the Miss America organization, and I'd love to work to promote not only its relevance, but also its preeminence in today's society. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Elizabeth.